Life has a strange way of changing the way we see people. When we're young, the world feels like a crowded festival. Friends are everywhere. Laughter comes easy, and meeting new people feels exciting. But as the years pass, something shifts. Many older adults begin to quietly withdraw from social circles. They start spending more time alone, avoiding gatherings, or keeping their social life limited to a few trusted people. For those watching from the outside, it may seem worrying. Why is Dad becoming so quiet? Why doesn't Grandma want to visit relatives anymore? Why is Uncle avoiding parties? The truth is, this isn't necessarily a sign of sadness, depression, or bitterness. It's often just a natural part of aging. And in many ways, it's completely normal. When you're young, friendships are often built on shared activities. School, work, hobbies, nightlife, socializing feels like an adventure. But as people age, their priorities change. The things that once felt exciting can now feel exhausting. Older adults have already seen enough of life's drama, misunderstandings, and shallow conversations. They crave deeper, more meaningful exchanges, not endless small talk. This shift means they naturally lose interest in keeping up with a large group of people just for the sake of it. Think about an older man in his 60s. In his 20s and 30s, his weekends were filled with parties and friends. But now, he finds more joy in gardening, reading, or spending time with one or two close friends. He isn't lonely. He's just choosing quality over quantity. Every social interaction takes energy, emotional, mental, and even physical. Younger people often have the stamina to handle different personalities, arguments, and gossip. Older adults, not so much. After decades of navigating human relationships, many realize they simply don't have the same patience for negativity or unnecessary drama. Avoiding certain people becomes a way of protecting their peace. Psychologists call this emotional regulation, the ability to decide where and how to invest emotional energy. As people age, they become better at recognizing who drains them and who uplifts them. Let's not ignore the obvious. Aging brings physical changes. For some older adults, hearing loss, poor eyesight, chronic pain, or reduced mobility make socializing harder. Crowded places can feel overwhelming. Noisy conversations become tiring, and long travel can feel like a burden. It's not that they don't want to see people. It's that the effort required feels too high compared to the comfort of staying home. This is why many prefer one-on-one visits or smaller gatherings over big events. By the time someone reaches 60 or 70, they've likely experienced betrayal, broken friendships, and disappointments. Life teaches them that not everyone has good intentions. Older adults often become more selective about who they allow into their inner circle. They no longer feel the need to please everyone or maintain surface-level relationships. If a friendship doesn't feel genuine, they're comfortable letting it go. This isn't coldness, it's wisdom. There's a well-documented psychological pattern called social circle shrinkage that naturally happens with age. It's not because older adults dislike people, it's because they value depth over breadth. Studies show that older people maintain fewer social connections, but those connections are stronger, more supportive, and more emotionally satisfying. It's a conscious trade-off. Fewer people, but better relationships. When you're younger, there's often a subtle pressure to stay connected, to network, or to be available. As people grow older, that pressure fades. No longer feel the need to attend every wedding, birthday party, or reunion. In fact, older adults often describe a sense of relief in being able to say no without guilt. They're not worried about missing out. They've already lived through enough experiences to know what truly matters as we age. Become more aware that our time is limited. Older adults feel the ticking of the clock more strongly than anyone else. This awareness changes how they spend their days. They'd rather invest their remaining years in people and activities that bring joy and peace, not in obligatory social events or toxic relationships. Many older adults develop a strong sense of independence. They don't rely on constant social validation to feel good about themselves anymore. This self-sufficiency means they can be perfectly content spending time alone. Loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. Loneliness is the pain of being alone. Solitude is the peace of being alone. Older adults often choose solitude and thrive in it. Life's experiences, both good and bad, shape how we interact with others. By the time someone is older, they've learned which types of people bring stress, disappointment, or drama. Avoiding such people isn't antisocial, it's an act of self-protection. For example, someone who has experienced manipulative friendships or one-sided relationships in the past will be far quicker to distance themselves from similar personalities. Later in life, older adults often prefer spending time with family or a small circle of longtime friends. These are people who know their history, understand their quirks, and don't require constant explanation. There's comfort in familiarity and less emotional labor involved. New relationships can feel like starting a new book. Familiar. Relationships are like rereading an old favorite. Modern technology, especially for those who embrace it, has changed the way older adults stay connected. Video calls, messages, and social media allow them to maintain relationships without the stress of in-person meetings. While this doesn't replace physical company, it reduces the need for constant face-to-face interactions, especially when mobility or energy levels are low. Many older adults find happiness in simpler, quieter lives. A walk in the garden, a good book, a peaceful morning tea. These small joys can outweigh the excitement of social gatherings. Younger people might see this as boring. For someone who's lived decades filled with hustle, it's the perfect way to spend time. One of the biggest problems is how society views older adults' withdrawal. Too often, it's seen as a sign of depression or sadness. While it can sometimes indicate mental health struggles, it's not always the case. In many situations, solitude is a choice, not a symptom. It's about valuing peace, conserving energy, and focusing on what truly matters in youth. Much of life is about building careers, families, reputations, friendships. But as people age, they begin returning to themselves. They reconnect with hobbies they once loved, explore spirituality, or simply enjoy the gift of being alive. This self-return often requires space, and that space is easier to find when social obligations are minimized. Instead of trying to fix older adults who avoid socializing, we should respect their boundaries and understand that their choices are intentional. Offer meaningful connection, quality over quantity. Be patient. They will reach out when they want to. Include them without pressure. Give invitations without expectations. Avoiding people as one grows older is rarely about rejection. It's about refinement. It's not about closing doors, but about keeping only the doors that lead to peace and joy open. Older adults aren't running away from life. They're simply choosing how to live it more intentionally. And in a world that often mistakes busyness for happiness, maybe there's a lesson in that for all of us. So, if you see your parents, grandparents, or an older friend spending more time alone, don't immediately assume something is wrong. Chances are, they've just learned the most important truth of all. Peace is priceless, and not everyone deserves access to it.